Hey everyone, it's me, John, back with this week's Johnny Vlogs. This week we're going to talk about television pilot season. In case you haven't noticed, there's a bunch of new shows popping up. Some good old shows are coming back, and that is why I'm wearing my favorite Flash hat. I have to say, The Flash, if you don't know about it, you really should check it out, especially if you're a fan of superhero storytelling. It is kind of a return to full-fledged superheroes being available on television. We used to have this a bit back in the late 70s and 80s, of course, with the Incredible Hulk and Wonder Woman. And admittedly, the stories they were telling were diluted a bit. Their superpowers were diluted a little bit to fit into kind of a real-world scenario. But nowadays, with how cheap computer graphics imagery is getting, they can do a lot more of staying true to the full superpowers of both the heroes and the villains in these stories. So if you happen to be a Netflix subscriber, you can actually check out the whole first season of The Flash. It's now available on Netflix, and you can go ahead and catch up with season 2 on Hulu if you happen to be a Hulu person or a Hulu Plus subscriber. Let me just put a shout out to, I love the ad-free service on Hulu Plus. I love it, I love it, I love it. I'm getting so used to not watching commercials, it's ridiculous. I went and stayed in a hotel room a couple weeks ago and was watching regular TV, and I didn't realize it is totally disruptive. Those commercial breaks are ridiculous. The messages pull you out of the story that you're trying to consume. I love Hulu Plus with the advertising free option. It rocks. It's totally worth the money. Not to mention the time that you save. But back to pilots. So another show I wanted to talk about before we get to brand new pilots is Continuum. I believe this is on the Sci-Fi Channel, but I fell in love with it also on Netflix. So if you want to check out Continuum, seasons 1 through 3 are available on Netflix, and right now season 4 is airing. It's going to be the last season. It's a short season. They know that they only have 6 episodes they can do, so I'm looking forward to how they really wrap up and conclude the story. The later seasons have kind of gotten away from the formula that was used a little bit in the first season, which I totally fell in love with. It was kind of a futurist's perspective on where society was going. Every episode seemed to focus on one particular twist or wrinkle, not just of the future, but of current times, and kind of focused on that and how it's going to impact our future. Very smart storytelling. It does feel like the special effects are on a pretty tight budget in that show. However, the action sequences are really kick butt. They do a lot of great action sequences in Continuum, so I highly suggest you check it out. Outside of that, so now we're looking into new shows. There's just a couple that I wanted to touch base on. First off, I'm a huge fan of the Muppets. That's Kermit right over there. And I've watched the pilot so far, but I haven't watched anything more than the pilot. I was kind of put off by the new Muppet Show. Essentially, it feels too much like a copy of the comedy style done on The Office, and for me, I've been subjected to that style for too long. I don't want to go back to it. I love those characters, but there's just something about fitting them into that type of show that, for me personally, doesn't work that great. I like that they're trying to keep it a show format by having this, Miss Piggy late night talk show. Though admittedly, I'm not a big fan of what they've done with the Kermit and Miss Piggy relationship. And Miss Piggy doesn't quite sound right for some reason. I don't know if they might have changed voice actors on her, but it really sounds, I don't know, just doesn't sound quite right to me. Anyway, outside of all that, they're working in cameos by big stars, which is kind of an old Muppet staple. And even if you look at the history of the Muppets, if you look at the old movies and the old TV show, they were always fans of old comedy structures, particularly vaudeville. And they've definitely lost that, but you could say perhaps that they're using the Office comedy structure in their current show, and the Office is, the original pass is coming up, I think, on 2 decades old, maybe 15 years, maybe more. So it is an older comedy structure. Kind of fits in with how the Muppets work their material. Just for me personally, I think I'll just stick with the old movies that I know and love, and the old TV show that was really something different for its time. This show feels like just another retread on the Office formula, except with characters they're hoping that you still love enough to stick around. So outside of that, you guys know I'm a sci-fi fan, so I've been watching a couple of new sci-fi pilots that have popped up. One of them is Minority Report, and I have to say Philip K. Dick is easily my favorite sci-fi author. I love his short stories. I've got a book that's just a compilation of his short stories that is magnificent. And if you like sci-fi in that format, short story format, I highly recommend you check it out. You will usually find the short stories that led to the big feature films like Minority Report, like Blade Runner. And they're really cool because in the short story format there is a clear social message that he's usually trying to get across, or not a message but a thought that he wants you to ponder and leave with. And you get a very good dose of it in the short story format, where sometimes the movies lose it a little bit. That being said, I loved the Minority Report movie. I know it was a little long and maybe a little complicated for some people, but I certainly enjoyed the heck out of it. The TV show, the pilot felt a little weird, kind of disjointed, almost like it was a 2-hour pilot that they had to cut down to 1 hour. There was a lot of things that they were throwing at you, and it didn't have a very smooth overall feel to it. However, the second and third episodes have definitely fallen into what you can see is a pattern for the series, which is basically a police procedural drama that is set in the future. One of the things I loved about the Minority Report movie was all the different thoughts it had about what the future was going to be like. Animated cereal boxes, ads that would talk to you. And the first episode of the Minority Report series really keyed in on that kind of stuff. And the second and third ones have kind of moved away from it. So I hope that they pull that back in. It doesn't always have to tie into the story. Sometimes it's just a neat thought about what the future is going to look like. And as far as the police procedural drama, it's, you know, we have a lot of those shows nowadays. We've been subjected to decades and decades of that with the Law and Order series, CSI series, and all those. But as long as they find some interesting perspectives in terms of it being set in the future and using the precogs, I think that they can pull it off and hopefully have a successful show. So I'll be watching that one fairly closely. Another show that debuted this year is Blind Spot. And what's interesting to me about Blind Spot is if you look at the basic premise of it, it is a bit similar to a story thread that was going on in a show called The Whispers that came out, I think it debuted over the summer season. Unfortunately, The Whispers was not done very good, but the basic premise that I'm talking about is a person has their memory wiped, they come back with tattoos, and the tattoos are clues to what's going to happen in the future. And essentially, Blind Spot is this exact same premise, except instead of a man that came back with his memory wiped, now they have a woman that has come back with her memory wiped. And she's working with the FBI, and basically her tattoos are one mystery after another, and the overall mystery is who she is and why her memory has been wiped. Blind Spot does way better than The Whispers in terms of its story structure. Once again, I have to call out very good action in Blind Spot. A lot of great fight choreography, some good gunplay, even car chases. I don't think this is a cheap show to produce by any stretch of the imagination. Pretty good acting going on. And the overall story, they're moving it along fast enough. I've seen, I think, 3 episodes of it now. They definitely keep it intriguing, especially the overall story arc about who she is and how she might or might not already be related to people that she's working with or know them from the past. So I'm really digging Blind Spot. Outside of that, I think that's about all that I'm really kind of vibing on right now. You know, Survivor, of course, is back. I love watching that show. Amazing Race is back, which I haven't caught up on yet. And if I don't hurry up and get over to CBS.com, I think they start removing episodes pretty soon. So I got to jump into that. But let me know what you think for current television. Are there any new shows in particular that you think I might geek out on? You know, you guys know I love sci-fi. I love comedy, but I'm really looking for something fresh and new from comedy, and I'm just not quite seeing it out there yet. So let me know if you guys have any thoughts on this or any thoughts on the shows I've mentioned. Drop it in the comment box below, and we will chat. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Johnny Vlogs. Catch you in the middle of the week with another Geek and Dorks review, and of course at the end of the week, This week we're going to be concluding my investigation into some of the new court documents on the Elisa Lam case. So I'm looking forward to sharing much more info with you about all that. Take care, and I'll see you later.